Hello, everybody. It's your friend Kevin, and this is your vibe of today. All right. So I hope you're good. I hope you're well. I hope things are going great in your world. Um, Things are going good here. I can't complain. I've spent some time this week in deep reflection. I've had the opportunity and the time to do that. And oftentimes times when my physical work is sort of goes all over the place and doesn't quite work out the way I expect it to, it causes me to make a shift and think about what can I do with the time that I have that opens up right now. So I'm grateful that I can still be productive, I can still be creative, and still exercise what it is I want to do. And then I dug a little bit deeper into some of my studies this week, studied a few more card decks, and it's all beginning to fall into place for me, this daily spiritual practice. So let's get right to today's card. I drew from a different deck, not a deck that's not unfamiliar for me, but it is from this particular card comes from Wisdom of the Hidden Realms by Colette Baron Reed. And the card that came forward was the Rainbow Prince. And I sat with this for a little while, a few minutes, to understand, well, what is the message? The words for reference is compensation through or compensation perseverance. And really, the message says that there is a pot of gold at the end of every rainbow, according to folklore. And this is a reminder that we have all endured some struggles and strife along the way. And the Rainbow Prince comes with this pot of gold. It's a little gift, it's compensation as a result of using all of the elements of inner light. And in the picture, you can see the Rainbow Prince reaching into the sky and touching, or at least bringing a rainbow. It reminds me really of a guardian angel, our own guardian angels, that's letting us know that we haven't had an easy process of it lately. We've been pushed and shoved and controlled and cajoled. And when the Rainbow Prince shows up with his hand gifting you a rainbow, gifting me a rainbow, gifting us hope, that by aligning ourselves with the energy of giving ourselves of the highest value, the compensation we get back is inherent. Just by the fact that we show up in our brightness, in our lightness, is also a message that the Rainbow Prince reminds us to keep our sights skyward, upward, lifted. After all the turmoil, after all the debauchery, after all of the difficulties we may or may not have faced, follow the bliss, follow the love, follow the light, and know that perseverance, by persevering, by keeping that going, by keeping that lightness happening, your rewards will be matching it. So I'm often reflecting after I do these vibes and these messages out there. Well, it's all very well to say positive, happy, joy. But then there's always these stumbling blocks. Judgment, that's mine, stumbling block. I find myself being naturally reactive to speech, opinions, ideas that I personally find quite vulgar. Two things happen. One it's a reminder of my own behavior of vulgarity when I myself have stuck in that ditch of trouble, in the doubt, in the pointing the fingers, because what we see in other people's behavior is usually reflective of our own behavior, especially when there's things to work on, when there is, many light workers call it shadow work, the parts that we don't really want the world to see. What I can tell you about doing that work, being honest about it, being upfront about it, being vulnerable about it, saying, yes, I've got flaws. Yes, I can sometimes be very blunt, and sometimes be very straightforward. And oftentimes that comes across as being rude, and not kind. So recognizing that and having it told to me by truthful people, you've got to come from a place of compassion, especially now that we're entering this world of sorting through feelings, emotional feelings, deep emotional feelings, not just emotional feelings that you didn't quite get the color of car you wanted, or um, I don't know, that the 21st house that you put an offer on got picked by somebody else, or they took somebody else's offer. All of this kind of rejectionary, I call it like big old mixed up sorting. Those kind of things keep going. And it's very difficult not to step into the, well, what about me syndrome. It's all about me. Um, and I myself have been guilty of being disappointed, being upset, downright pissed off, with things that didn't quite go right, of being reactive. What I've learned now, after doing these daily spiritual practices and lots of time staying in it, literally remaining in it, eventually all of that negativity, all of that really nonsense falls away, breaks up. But there is the reminder of the times that I've not been kind and I've acted out of reaction and not response. I have sort of retreated. And what I realize about that in myself, and I'm sharing it with you because perhaps it's something that you also experience, moving up towards the light, getting lighter, brighter, and shining just with love, just coming from a place of pure, unadulterated love. When the experience is being limiting belief systems and following the crowd and being controlled, lacking freedom, all of those things, there's often a little window into the soul of some of that work that has to be just put to bed. I've learned in my daily spiritual practice what the Akashic Records are. Yes, I'd heard that many, many, many times. Really, it's the hall of wisdom. It's a bit like if you can remember something that pops up in your mind and the emotional attachment kicks off to it, a conversation you might have had many years ago, a person you bump into you haven't seen in a while, you're not quite sure you understand what the connection is, and then you realize later on, oh my goodness, that is so and so from high school, or that is such and such a person I used to work with, and you then remember that the relationship ended on not such a great note, or that there was some combative energy that went with it. Now, that's not to say you confront it, you go to the person, or if you really feel like you're looking for a big shift and there's an opportunity for you to connect physically, you can say, I remember who you are and I remember where I know you from. And I remember that the last time we were connecting, it wasn't really very positive, and I am responsible for that. So I'm glad I've popped into you. I've thought about you, and now I'm reminded that it's time for me to own up to it. Now, that's not to say that you go through the avenues, the hallways, and the corridors of your mind and your memories and start digging up all of the negative things you may or may not have done. It's not necessary to look for it, not necessary to drag it all up, What's necessary is to recognize that you've grown from it, that you've lifted beyond it. Because having those feelings of regret, having those feelings of I'm sorry, the grief of how you used to be, allows you to have the space for who you have become. So, what I've realized in the last few weeks of my career, which has been 40 something years, is to appreciate all of the things I've accomplished. I got goosebumps all over my body. So I know my angels and my guides and my ascended masters are here. But to recognize all that I've accomplished, all that I've done, all that's happened on my behalf, that I set forth with the best of intentions, and they all worked out. Everything worked out for my highest good, keeps me away, keeps me on the opposite side of, lifts me up and beyond anything else that isn't serving my purpose. There are folks who remember the good times, the laughter, the fun, the giggling, the stories of when so and so did such and such, and this created a big mess, and you laugh about it. And there are those who remember things as not being so good and live in that place of it wasn't so good, it wasn't so great. So, my question really to you as we close the books on a year is, where do you fall on that scale? Do your memories of the past seem to be locked into memories that weren't so good and some shadowy, shady work that you've got to work on? Or do you tend to look at memories of the past with light, joy, fun, upbeat stuff? And as a nugget before I get to Melody Beatty's book, Journey to the Heart, we are all, I'm sure, and if you're listening, you're getting it, working with elements of control and elements of freedom. And the two are they're having it out. I like to call them, like, I just imagine, and I'm going to get a little ratchet, so bear with me. You've got two people. You've got the light people and you've got the not so light people, and they're sort of having this battle, right? There's the area of control and greed on one hand, not getting, they're not feeling, not doing. Folks are clamoring to be seen, folks are clamoring to be heard. There's no lightness in that. There is no lightness in any of that. To show up spiritual, to show up light, to do the work, to be of service happens in the moment. It happens when right there, right now, somebody needs you. It doesn't matter whether you're opening the door, helping someone to their car with their groceries, giving somebody $2 who's short at the grocery store line, whatever that means, whatever that says. Listen, don't worry, here, I got it. Paying somebody's meal. There was a time when there was this new culture that you would go through a drive-through restaurant and the person in front of you paid for your food. Said, here's $20, pay for their food. That's like beyond wow. I think I've got a note here that I put up. I typed it up a long time ago. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, that random person. Hey, you. Yes, you. Random person. The person I will never meet. I truly hope that you will find happiness in life. And today is going to be a great day. So just saying that, just basically saying out there, random people that I'll never meet and I'll never know. You know, I hope that whatever's going on in your life is going to be the happiest life you've ever thought of. Happiest life you could ever live. It's that sort of thing that brings in more. It lifts you to say it, and it lifts other people to listen to it. And this is really where we are moving towards. The rainbow prince that comes and says you get compensated by what you put out. And it doesn't mean that you have to work like physical work. Just keep doing the work. the work of the light, the work of love, the work of sharing your brightness with other people. And before we get to this, think back to the summer of 2019, before any of this shutdown, pandemic, virus ever happened. Were you truly content with what you were doing and where you were going and what was happening in your life? Truly. Now, some might say, well, I'd like to go back to normal. Back to where? What's normal? Back to what? Back to when you weren't really conscious of the fact that life is pretty precious and we've got to look after each other and we've got to look after the planet and we're here to make things work for the highest good of everybody. That's not going back to normal. That's being underneath the duvet cover of emotions and just hoping it'll all be okay and tomorrow we'll be getting more and getting more and getting more and getting more. You know, these things that cause us to stop, look, think, and ponder these issues, these global issues. None of us have been through any of this ever. Not ever. We've not known a time where it's been like this. People who were in their 80s and their 90s remember World War II. Less than 100 years ago, but not long ago. They remember what that was like. I'm sure those people in the eastern blocks of Europe, if they're still alive, remember the bombs coming down, the troops marching through the streets. I'm sure all of those who were rattled up onto trains and taken to concentration camps just to be killed. That is what they experienced. So we've never had to experience anything like that. We've never really had to be shown anything like that. And now we're coming to a point where we look at our lives and say, what kind of life do we want now? What kind of life do we want moving forward? This is where you get to where, okay, I want to be free. I don't want to be controlled. This is why I think there's a bigger consciousness of folks who are saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to go work for a big corporation that doesn't care about me, that only really cares about me because they need a warm body in that space. They don't really care about what I do. There's a lot of that happening out there. People are caring more about what they contribute in other ways as opposed to labor. And I don't want to get too political because I don't know that that's helpful. Let's get to today's message from Melody Beatty. I'll be interested to see if this lines up with this kind of rampage I went on. So what is today's date? It is the 11th, 12/11. It's time to make time to play. Time to make time to play. Go play, yes. Take a break and go play. When your head starts to pound and your back starts to ache, stop. Do something you want to do. Do something that feels good. Feel fun. Leave your worries behind. Put them in a box. Then close down the lid and go out and play. We make sure that our children take time to recess every day. But we forget that we need to recess too. The lingering threads of work and worry can tie us to tasks done and undone. They can block our connection to joy, creativity, and the vital life-giving force that courses through all of us. We no longer need to slump with tension and fatigue. It isn't necessary and doesn't help anything. Most often it hurts. Your fatigue may be from lack of play as much as lack of sleep. You might begin to see that you don't need to rest. You don't need to nap. You don't need more vitamin C. You just need to play. Play as much as you can. Find time. Take time. It may give you the energy that you need. It is a challenge to be playful. It is a challenge to be light. It is a challenge to be loving. It is a challenge. When the majority seem to be in the opposite of that. There are those who believe in this idea that the supply chains out there are running out of this, running out of that. Okay, I don't believe that. I believe abundance is just a shift, a pivot in what you are abundantly doing. If you look at a field of grass, there are hundreds of thousands of blades of grass in that field. You look at the leaves that have just dropped from the trees and their various branches on that tree, lots of them. And then pretty quickly, we're going to start to see the buds of the new trees and the new leaves that are coming, lots of them. You think of a breath in and out, and how the molecules of oxygen are going into the lungs to fill every one of those cells, lots of them. So abundance is really a state of consciousness, a state of mindfulness. And for those who feel like there's a lack of money, a lack of finance, because that's really what it is. There's kind of two ways of looking at lack. One, don't have enough money. Two, don't have enough love. Maybe the third is nobody gets me, nobody sees me, and I don't matter. Maybe that's the third one. Well, if that seems to be what pops up, what crops up, the lack of play, this is where your guardian angel, your spirit guide, whoever it is that's on the other side working with you, wants you to say, wait a minute here, this is what you've got to work on. This is what you came to put a rest to. Your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors, your whole lineage is saying, listen, it's limiting. You haven't only got so much time to sort this out, to get this put right. So change the way you think and feel about stuff. Look at yourself as being a survivor, as being someone who's strong, resilient, playful, fun, light-hearted. And if you are in one of those situations where you don't like what's going on, then you say, this is not what I want, but this is what I want, and then strive to go and get it. I hope this has been helpful and not too heavy. Until next time, lots of love, plenty of play. Bye.